So, your professor just said you got to use a credible source. And suddenly that Google search that you were about to do doesn't feel like it's going to cut it. Now, that can be scary, but it doesn't have to be, because GCC's library has tools and databases and people who are ready to help you search smarter, find exactly what your professor is asking for, and yes, even online. So this weekend study with me, we're talking about how to search smarter so you can find the right sources without wasting hours. And tonight, I'm very excited. We have a special guest, Nicki Lerczak. She's one of the best resources we've got at GCC. And she'll help us learn how to connect with librarians, where to find ebooks and databases and course guides, and how to evaluate what you find, including when and how AI might play a role in your research. I'm Loy from GCC's online learning team, and this is episode 5, Search Smarter. And now I'm excited to turn it over to Nicki, and she can share a little bit about herself and the kinds of support that the library offers to students. So welcome.
Hello, online world. My name is Nicki Lerczak. I am one of the 4 full-time librarians here at GCC. So a little about me. If you have ever visited the library and seen the office door from Crazy Town, that's me. You'll glean many things from me from that office door. I am from Long Island originally, though I don't sound it. I've spent more of my life in Western New York than I spent down there, so I sound solidly from here. I did come from Long Island up to Buffalo. I got my BA in English at UB, followed by my Master's of Library Science from UB. And after library school, which is what we call it, and that always elicits laughs, yes, there is a thing called library school, and I went to it. I started my life at a public library down in the Southern Tier at Olean Public Library. I went from Olean to a library consortium called Southern Tier Library System. And then in June of 2001, I came to GCC, and I have been here ever since.
Oh, and we're so glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so it's nice to have you here, and we're happy that you've taken the time to join us. That's awesome. And for the rest of our time together, we're going to bring in some questions that students have asked about working with the library and questions that students have from working on their projects. So, this should sound pretty familiar. I'm sure you probably hear these same questions every day, but let's ask them for our online students, and I'm kind of curious too. So the first question is, who needs a librarian? So...
Well, okay, so my answer, of course, is everyone. Everyone needs a librarian. It is just about everyone. It's not everyone, but many students could use a librarian and don't know it. We are here, academic librarians. Our whole purpose is not the librarians you remember from high school, whose sole job was to glare at you during in-school study hall or detention when they sent you to the library to sit there and be quiet and feel bad. They also used to do the scholastic book fairs. That's the librarians you know. Maybe you know a friendly public librarian. We're more along those lines. Our job here is to help you be successful, and we want you to find what you need. We want you to know what to do with it once you've got it. And so what I usually tell students is, if you are just absolutely stumped, come talk to us. We will get you started. If you want to try something on your own, if you want to do the research on your own, I always say give it a solid 15 minutes. Because in 15 minutes of not finding what you need, you will be frustrated, but you will not be angry. In 45 minutes of not finding what you need, now you're angry, and I don't like you at that point. I like you when you're just frustrated. So 15 solid minutes, and then reach out to us.
All right, so there's a good cutoff then. Our students know, this is how long you should struggle.
Yes, a little struggle's not bad. A little struggle, it builds character. Just like spinach and all the other things you were told you should do with your life.
Okay. And so after that 15 minutes, so how do students get in touch with you? Like, are there easy ways to connect online?
There are super easy ways to connect online. So the library can be reached, and this semester I am now describing 3 possible ways to reach us. From the college website, you can hover your mouse over the word academics, and the drop down will have library. It's a straight shot down from there. We're about 3/4 of the way down. If you've gone into My GCC but stopped short as soon as you got there, On the right-hand side of the screen is a list of departments. The library is there. And if you've gone all the way into your actual Brightspace course, there should be a library resources link up at the top in the blue navigation bar, which will probably give you a couple of links depending which class you're in. It'll be tailored to that class. All of these are ways to get to our webpage, which is on the larger college page. You can chat with us online when the library is open. And this is not a bot. This is real librarians. When the library is open, we are usually waiting for your chat. Sometimes we leave the desk to go unjam a printer or hit it with a stick or do whatever it is we need to do that moment. But we'll be coming back. And if we're not back, there is a link right there to our email. So you can send us email right from the library's website. There it is. You can also make an appointment if you would like a dedicated one-on-one appointment with us, either in person or we go online. So we've been doing Zooms, but I had a Teams chat with somebody just this afternoon. So you can send us a paper and say, can someone look this over and can I talk to somebody about it? So online students, you can chat, you can email, you can Teams meet with us. We are happy to do it when the library is open. If you are a 3 a.m. kind of human, you are going to have to email. Because I'm not sticking around till 3 a.m.
What, you're not a 24/7 call center?
We are not. We go home at night, we sleep in our beds, we come back at 8:30 in the morning, and that's the thing. So the library is open Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 7. So after 7 p.m., you're going to wait till the next day. Fridays we're 8:30 to 4, and I know that's early. Everyone complains about our Friday close, but it is what it is. Trust me, it gets quiet after 4. And then we're open on Sundays, which is always the surprise to people. We are not Saturday, but we're Sunday, 1 to 7. So if you have a weekend question, you can catch us on Sundays.
Well, that could be real handy because I know that a lot of the instructors will have their deadlines are Sunday at midnight.
And that is why we are open on Sundays.
Wow.
Because no one did the work on Saturdays.
Chicken, egg.
Yeah.
Do they have the deadlines because you're open on Sunday, or are you open on Sundays because that's when they have the deadlines?
I think it's more that one.
Okay. Okay. So I want to talk about one of the really cool tools that you have on the library website. Well, I've glanced at it and I think it looks really cool, but I've never really dived into it. And they're called course guides. So can you explain what the course guides are and how they make life easier for our students?
100%. So the course guides come in 2 flavors. They come in the course flavor and the assignment flavor. And not every guide works for every class. So there are many sections of a variety of different classes. Some sections of a class, well, I'm going to pick on Criminal Justice 101 for instance. For Criminal Justice 101, every Criminal Justice 101 student does a number of assignments. So when I see a Criminal Justice 101 student, I'm going to steer them and it won't matter who they're taking CRJ 101 with. But my Englishes are a different matter entirely. The English instructors all have slightly different versions of things they do. So for them, it depends on the class and the instructor whether or not we have a guide that's tailored. But a lot of the times what we've got is we've got the assignment level. That's the bulk of them. So we're like, are you doing an assignment where you have to do X? And again, I'll pick on criminal justice. They have a comparative legal systems assignment. So for that assignment, I know that they need to find the criminal justice system of, let's say, Sri Lanka and the United States. Well, so how on earth would you do that? Our guide shows you. It says, here's where you can go to find the laws, the courts, the justice system. We break it down for that assignment. Here's all the places you can go. We include online reference books that we have that work for that assignment, our chat, our citation guides, which will come up later. Mm-hmm. But then there are just some where it's, this course, here's some general resources that are good for this course. They're not specific to any one assignment in the course. They're just general course-related info that's just good to know. So that's kind of our flavors.
Okay. That sounds really cool. So it's almost like, you're sitting down to do this assignment. Somebody's pulled all the resources you're going to need and put them all in front of you at the same time.
Yeah, and actually put stuff in there that says, hey, start here. We didn't leave it up to chance. We're like, really? Step 1, step 2, step 3, go.
Oh, it's always good to know where to start.
Yes.
Speaking of where to start,
mm-hmm.
and also when to stop,
yeah.
where we stop, it seems to be the front end and the back end of like every major paper, citations. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a foreign language. Mm-hmm. Like I cannot make heads or tails out of APA versus MLA. I can do Chicago. I cannot make heads or tails out of APA or MLA. So student has an assignment and they have to do their citations in a certain format. How does the library help with that?
Okay. So a couple of ways. I know that no student ever is going to say, boy, I prefer searching the library versus the internet. Because the internet is fun, friendly, easier, much lower bar. The library resources come with that higher bar and a higher level of difficulty, but they reward you with citation help. So that's where you have to make the call, like, would I like the help with the citation? In which case, maybe trying to figure out how to find something good through the library will pay off at that point, because all of my library databases have citation help buried in them, and it's the little quotation marks most of the time. If you keep an eye out for them, they will tell you, here is how to cite this. Now, comes with a caveat. That said, they're not all correct all the time. Some are better than others. Some will almost always have an error in one key spot. They don't do capitalization well. And the citation styles are weirdly picky about what words get capitalized, what words don't get capitalized. So I always say the citation tools in the databases are a good starting point. It's the place where we copy, we paste, and then we tweak. And part of that tweaking can be, as I tell students, come to the library, plop it down on the desk, metaphorically or online if that makes more sense for you, and say, help. Because that is what we do. Those citation guides we have created and put on our website are one way of helping you. If you don't want to talk to us, that's fine. We won't take it personally. You can use the guide and compare what you got from the database or from the internet and see where does it need fixing, or you can throw it at us and say, someone please.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm glad you don't take that personally.
Not at all.
Okay. And that kind of leads into a question that I really want to ask you is talking about evaluating our sources, because you said students would prefer to use the internet because it's easy. And the library, I know one of the things that happens is you have to log in to start searching. But, I mean, is Google a good source? Is Wikipedia a good source? Like, is there anything worth citing on the internet?
There is a ton of stuff that is worth citing on the internet. And I love it. I will just say that my husband likes to make fun of me. He goes, you hate Wikipedia. I'm like, I'm in Wikipedia half a times a day, but I'm not writing a paper. That's where it kind of comes down. And it also depends. I mean, if I were writing a paper about the internet, well then heck yes, I'd be using Wikipedia. I like to say you want to match the need to the resource. So if the internet has what you need for your paper, if you're not looking for in-depth research, if you're just looking to explain a concept or a topic, then the internet is a great place. We usually say that what you need to think about is, there's a nice acronym, because libraries love acronym, and this one is SIFT. And what it kind of comes down to is divorce yourself from your emotions, so it's stop before you find something that's going to get you upset. So if you're looking at the internet, did it make you angry? Stop right there. Because chances are good this is not something you're going to include in a paper. All right? Investigate the source. What do you know about the website? Do you know if it's credible? What's its reputation? Google the website. What does the internet say about that source? Does it show up in Snopes? That sort of thing. Do you find information that corroborates what you found? So it's the find better or find corroborating evidence. If the internet seems to all be saying, yeah, this is a thing, then the last one is the T in SIFT is trace. So what does it say? What are the claims? What are the quotes? Can you find where they came from and see if they were taken out of context? What were they? How were they used? Were they twisted? So you can use the stuff on the internet provided you've given it a thorough going through. I always like to say, imagine you'd have to go before a courtroom and a judge, and Your Honor, I will attest to this website because I checked it out. I know who the author is. I looked them up. They seemed like they're credible. They seem like they're in keeping with the general idea of this information. So it's more work,
right,
to use the internet in that way, because it's on you to find the good stuff. And if you can't find an author, just move on. It's my usual. If there's no author on that website, please just move on. That's really all I'm going to say.
Right. If they don't put a...
Right. Who wrote this?
Who wrote this? Yeah. AI wrote this. I don't know.
Probably.
All right. So sift, stop, investigate, find...
Right. Well, and I've had people tell me that they use TikTok for their research. Oh. And I'm like, okay. So I know that it's being done. I know YouTube's being done. But here's the thing. When we're matching the need to the source, if I wanted to learn how to bake bread, I will go to YouTube. I will go to TikTok. If I wanted a really short video on how to make bread, I watched one just today. Mm-hmm. You can do these things, but these things are your life. They're not your homework.
Or if you wanted to learn how to use the library, you might go to YouTube.
You might. right. We have a video. We have many videos. I record many videos. They are on there. Yes.
Oh, you're recording one now.
This is true. This is true.
All right. So let's turn our attention over to the big AI question. There's the big one. Like everything's AI, this, AI, that. And everybody's talking about. Like I teach a class on Tuesday, Thursday nights, and we just sat down and had our AI ethics discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it ever okay for students to use AI tools when they're working on assignments?
Yes. Quick answer.
Okay.
Longer answer.
So yeah, well, and then so the follow-up question is, if the answer is yes, what are the safe, accepted ways to use it?
Right. Okay. So the way I like it, because I have encountered over the years that many students have vocabularies that are not quite up to scratch with library research. And my example for this is if you sat down at a library database and you say, I'm going to write a paper on dogs, and you type dogs, and the library database goes, pardon my French, because they'll do that occasionally. They will just say, I'm sorry, Charlie, we got nothing on that. And for some students, that stops them cold. Mm-hmm. The inability to figure out how else can I say what I want? What else describes what I'm looking for? And if you can't pull canines or puppies or doggos out of your back pocket, library databases are not your friend. So for brainstorming purposes, I used to say brainstorm with a buddy, but if you don't have one, brainstorm with AI, because that is a really good way to say, I'm interested in the topic of. Please give me a list of related terms or synonyms or search phrases I could use in a library database. And they can give you here's the words that you don't have. And you might not need them all. I mean, maybe you just need the one and you go, oh, I wouldn't have come up with canines. Excellent. That'll do me, right? But so that's what it's good for. I'm going to push it in every direction. It's also good for giving me, I like the topic of cell phones. I want to write about cell phones. Well, do you know how many ways we could take that? We could go 1,000 directions with cell phones. You're not writing a book about cell phones. Mm-hmm. So to ask the chat to say, what are some possible directions I could argue about this topic? What are some ways that I could explore this concept? And have them help you refine it so that you have some idea where you'd like to go. You don't want to go too narrow. I mean, you could get really crazy and like, I want to write a paper on this one brand of cell phone that came out in 2007. No, don't do that. Too narrow, too far. All right. But if you're not going to come up with it on your own, then use that. I did come across something, the Kansas, KU, University of Kansas Center for Teaching Excellence. They had also suggested using AI ethically in writing assignments, that it is good for, as I said, generating ideas, narrowing scopes. But they also suggested that when it came to research, you could use AI for finding initial sources, because there are a number of different tools out there. I know Perplexity is a favorite.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. I have used Perplexity to find sources. It's one of the things that I like about it, as opposed to like DeepSeek or ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot for that matter. It's that when you go to Perplexity and you ask it questions and you ask it to find sources, it finds legitimate sources and it does not hallucinate them out of thin air.
And that is definitely going to be preferred to, we made this up. It doesn't really exist, but it's totally what you want. I'm like, that sounds frustrating. So, they do talk about how you could use it for that sources. They also suggest using it to find connections among ideas so that they would help you see patterns. They also suggest AI for formatting references. There are a number of tools that will do that. I know Grammarly is a big one, so I know that people do use the tools that are out there for help, and that's fine. They also suggest a couple of things like interrogating research papers or websites. I have never asked AI to interrogate a website. I'm not sure how well that would go, but it might.
It's interesting because I have asked AI to interrogate a paper before.
There you go. But yeah, not a website.
Yeah.
So it definitely has some places at the much higher scholarly end. If you're a PhD and you need to do a literature review of 250 research papers, I could see many valid uses, but I don't see them on the same level for the regular student here at GCC. Right. They also suggest outlines. that AI could help you make an outline. And I thought that would be handy too. Mm-hmm. So that's where I would say AI might be really good places.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about in my class just a few minutes ago, and we're kind of going a little off script here, but one of the things we talked about was how AI sort of boils everything down to the lowest common denominator, the most common stereotype. So if you ask it for an outline, and I've experienced this before, if I ask it for an outline, I'm going to get the world's most generic outline.
Oh, yeah. I would believe that 100%.
Right, but if you have a student who maybe doesn't know how to format, say you don't know how the format of a lab report.
Right. There you go.
That's about as generic as you get. You know, the lab reports are the same format every single time.
There you go.
For a reason.
Yeah.
So.
I just know that when I see students who want to rely on it more and more, I do say you have to think about what you're not doing when you're doing that. And if you're asking, the phrase that I heard this semester, which I kind of absolutely love, cognitive offloading.
Yes.
And I'm like, if you are not using your brain, then really what's it there for? Because use it or lose it, right? I mean, if you're not giving it exercise and taking it out for a spin, it's not going to be better at certain things. So I do like the idea of getting the help when you need the help, but the help shouldn't maybe always be there. It should get you through the now I understand, and I will try this on my own and see how I do. So yeah, I'm use it or lose it.
Right. At least with the brain.
Yeah.
Not the AI.
No, you want a working brain. Everyone wants a working brain.
Yeah. No comment. All right.
We think everyone wants a working brain.
All right. So let's ask the other end of the tail end of that process. So let's say a student does use AI.
Yep.
And, they use it to find sources, or they use it to format their outline, or they use it to find synonyms or what have you. How do they go about citing it so that they don't end up in trouble?
Right. Okay. So I waited a year once AI had officially exposed itself to the world, and we all kind of got used to looking at it and figuring out what it was good for. And when I realized it wasn't probably going away, I incorporated it into the library's 3 citation style sheets. So Chicago, MLA, and APA all have a section that say how to cite AI. And they all take a slightly different approach to how they do that. So with all of our citation guides, there is the big proviso that you must follow what your instructor wants. My guide tells you what Chicago, MLA, and APA think about it, but your instructor is the final word. And I just came from a political science class where we talked about citing legal resources, and according to Chicago style, legal resources don't go in a bibliography, but the instructor said, ha ha ha, I want them there. And that wins. If the instructor says do it, then do it, no matter what my guides. I mean, if you want to argue, but Nicki's guide says, good luck with that. I don't recommend it. So each of the 3 styles takes a slightly different approach. Your instructor may take an entirely different one, and it depends on what they're doing. So for MLA, they ask you to give a description of the interaction or the text of the prompt that you gave it. So I have an example for mine that says, do people with visible tattoos suffer possible discrimination? Was a question that I asked it when trying to think about a paper topic. They ask for the tool that you used, the version of the tool, who makes the tool, and then the last update date of it, or the interaction date, and then a general link or a shareable link. Shareable is always preferred, general if you don't have one. So MLA, basics of that. APA says, again, check with your professor. For those, they say, the information provided through an AI interaction, if you use it, you are ethically bound to indicate where it came from. So APA is up on morals on that one. They're like, if you used it, you should do it. And they don't really want to know too much. They just want to know that you used something created by somebody. So who made it? When did they make it? What was it called? And then the shareable link. So they just want to see the whole interaction. Don't bother telling me what you asked it. Just give me the link to it, because I'm going to go look. And Chicago. Chicago also, they say that we do a bibliography and a footnote for it. And when you have a shareable link, you should create. So if you have that, yes, they want it. If you used another AI program than my examples are all ChatGPT examples because I went with the most basic one, then you would just sub out. So if you didn't use ChatGPT but use something else, that's okay, put their name in it. And they have two options. They've got, a footnote where it says the response to what was the main cause of World War II. So you can see my question to it from ChatGPT. Or you could have done the shorter version, which was text generated by ChatGPT, and then just add the link. Mm-hmm. So each of these are in the library's citation style sheets. You can see them. They are in the table of contents. It will usually call these things AI/large language models. So look for that example for each of them. And then if you have any questions at all, ever, about anything that you find in these things, please reach out to us.
So we can just bring you what we're working on and say, how would I cite this?
Right. I mean, and in some cases, it's totally legit to just do it as a narrative. So I asked ChatGPT the following prompt. They told me this. So some instructors would be really cool with just having sort of a narrative. Here's what I did and how I got my information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That would be, well, it sounds like one of the easiest ways to do it.
So. It is, yeah.
Okay. So just want to recap before we wrap up. And yeah, look at this. We're almost out of time. But finding the library through our website.
Yes, absolutely. Hover over the word academics, drop down to library.
And then through my GCC.
Yep, departments, library.
And what was the third one?
The third one is in the Brightspace course itself, library resources up in the navigation bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so all kinds of ways
we are
to get
everywhere. We're like Batman.
Okay. Well, your librarians definitely have alter egos there. All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight. I knew this was going to be a fun one, and I'm glad that you came.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Which brings us to the end of episode 5, Search Smarter. And so, we talked about how to reach the librarians, where to find the ebooks, where to find the databases, the course guides, finding and evaluating sources, and how and when you can use AI. Right? Yep. According to the library.
Yep.
And so, as usual, our big takeaway is that you don't have to figure it out alone. You have 3 different ways to get to the library website, and then when you get there, you have a multitude of ways to contact the library.
Exactly.
Even if you are an online student. So, the challenge this week is to find something that stood out for you in this conversation. So, go and try and find a course guide for your next assignment, or reach out to a librarian with a question.
Yeah, or just say hi.
Or just say hi. Just say hi. I do have a note that I want to throw in here, and this will be a surprise to you because it's not in your copy. The library is hosting the 15th annual student photography contest.
Yes, we are.
And yes, submissions it is open for submissions tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
Friday, September 26th. Each student can submit up to 3 photos. That does include online students.
Yes, it does.
And we have print and black and white categories. Right?
Yes, we do.
And
so if you do black and white, it has to come to us physically. So that would be a little bit of a challenge for online.
Well, they can mail it to you.
They could mail it to us.
Yes, One College Road.
There you go.
Yes.
So send your black and white printed stuff to us. Absolutely.
Yes, so we are, Genesee Community College.
But digital's pretty easy.
One College Road, Batavia, New York, 14020.
Yeah.
And make sure you put the library on it. Otherwise, it's going to float around the campus for a while.
Right, we'll all look at your pictures.
Okay. So, yeah, you can see the library's website for more information. And please enter the photo competition. That's always a lot of fun.
If you're here in the spring, we have a poetry contest.
We do have a poetry contest.
So the fall library contest is photos, the spring is poems.
Well, we're just going to have to find a topic to have you back in the spring.
I'll come back in the spring. That's totally cool. I'll read limericks. There once.
I'm not sure we can put that on the air. All right. And I have one more announcement. In a couple of weeks, on October 16th, we'll have Christina here to talk about financial aid, and specifically the 2627 FAFSA application. Ooh. The big boogeyman. So if you have questions about FAFSA or about financial aid that you would like to have Christina answer, let us know now. Our email is gcconline, ONLINE, at genesee.edu. And the questions that you send in, we will put them in front of Christina and we'll say, okay, how do we do this? So, all of your FAFSA questions, we would hope to get them answered on October 16th. And I'm kind of looking forward to that one too. So once again, I'm Lloyd from the Online Learning Team, and thanks for listening to Study With Me. Please make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode. And our mantra, which we're going to share with Nicki for the first time here, is progress, not perfection.
Oh, I love it.